What's up, guys? It's time for another dose of quick reviews. These are all the TV shows that I've watched this year. This is part 2. You can check out part 1, which I done a while ago. I don't know when I'm posting these. Maybe I posted it last week. Maybe it's been a long time. I don't know. But let's get straight into the reviews. Here we go. Barry Season 2. Barry is brilliant. One of the best comedies I've seen in a long, long time. Now, I say comedy, it's very much a comedy, drama, thriller, action show because it's about an assassin who's trying to get out of that life and become an actor. In Season 2, he's done things to try and cover up elements that are going on behind the scenes, but by doing that, he's made some enemies who are now trying to get back at him. And this season is so good. So many twists and turns, so many surprises. There's one episode which feels like almost like a standalone, in which he's just trying to kill this one guy, and this one guy turns out has a daughter, and there's just one long half an hour episode where he's trying to kill this guy, cover up all elements, and it's hilarious. Bill Hader, absolutely brilliant. Henry Winkler, brilliant as well. They're both going to get Emmy nominations for this, no doubt about it. And I can't wait to see what happens in season 3. This is very much what if Breaking Bad was a bit more funny. And it's not to say Breaking Bad wasn't funny, but the comparisons to Breaking Bad are there. I fully recommend this to everyone. It's absolutely amazing, this show. So go check it out. Hanna Season 1, based on the film of the same name. Hanna. So, I haven't seen the film, I want to make that clear. So, this is okay. I believe it was 8 episodes, but it feels like it's really dragged out and drawn out. It's slow at times. One of the big frustrating elements I had with the show is that it never really explains itself very well. There are hints as to Hannah's origins and what she is and why she's that way throughout the season, but no one ever sits down and says, right, this is what you are, this is why you're this way. Instead, it's just constantly dripping out little bits of information here and there, and it makes it frustrating because so much of the show is about one character trying to protect her and another character trying to hunt her down, but it never overtly states why this is happening, and it's annoying. Towards the end, it does delve into that a bit, but it's never satisfying the way it does it. The show is so slow at times. It has got some action scenes in there which help pick the pace up in ways. The problem with the action scenes, though, is that some of them are edited pretty, I'm not going to say poorly, but it's clear that half the time the action that's happening isn't being conducted by the actors. That's clearly stunt doubles. And clearly the young actress who's playing Hannah couldn't do half the things that they're needing her to do. So it becomes a bit frustrating, and when it comes to the action scenes and editing, you're supposed to be able to disguise that fact. I don't think they've done a pretty good job here. But yeah, disappointing season. Again, I haven't seen the film, so I don't know how it compares to that. But I'm not sure I'm going to watch season 2. If you like big thrillers and spy stories, this is kind of that. So you might like it. But yeah, the pacing is a bit frustrating, and it won't be for everyone. The Big Bang Theory Season 12. This is the final season of The Big Bang Theory. So here's my history of The Big Bang Theory. I think the first 3 or 4 seasons are okay, but then the show changes at that point for about 4 seasons. 12 seasons, that's a lot of seasons of this show. Too much, basically. But from season 4 onwards, the show stops being about geeks and nerds. It stops being embracing them and making them yeah, these are people, these are ordinary individuals, and it starts to make them the butt of the joke. And I didn't like that. I didn't like it when it went from being all about geeks and nerds, being a show for geeks and nerds, to being a show that makes geeks and nerds a joke. It felt like it was just changing the whole goal and purpose of the show. As it's progressed, these past couple of seasons, as it's gearing up towards the end, have course corrected a bit. It's not as good as it was in the first few seasons, but this final season, one of the better ones in recent years. Does it wrap things up nicely? Yeah, it gives the characters closure, it wraps up their storylines pretty well. Problem is, a lot of these characters are a little annoying, particularly the character of Sheldon. Sheldon is really annoying at times, and it's really good that this season particularly in the final episode or so, actually finally does something that feels much needed and earned, in that the characters finally speak out and address their issues about children. They address how annoying he is, they address how self-centered he is, and so on. And I really like that. I'm not going into spoilers, I'm not going to say how it ends, but this season of The Big Bang Theory, if you like The Big Bang Theory, it's one of the better ones. Sneaky Pete Season 3. So Sneaky Pete, a really good, fun, enjoyable show. I like the show a lot. One of the most notable things about this season is that they've changed production from New York to Los Angeles. That means that this season, the storyline really forces all the characters to go from New York to Los Angeles. And you can tell that they're doing that. They've done a pretty good job of it, actually, by getting all the characters to essentially cross the country. Not going to go into the storyline too much because there are twists and turns, there are surprises and big reveals in this. It's just the type of show that it is. But it does a good job of giving you all these moments that make sense to the characters while also being surprising and shocking. And one of the annoying things about Sneaky Pete is that because there are so many twists and turns, because there are so many secrets being kept by certain characters, it's really hard to keep track of them all. So when the season starts, it's difficult to get right back into the loop of like, right, this character knows this character knows that, but then there's the surprise that's it can be hard to get right into things again, but it does work out nicely. This season has a good villain overall, I think. There's a good overall story. I'm not going to say how the season ends, but this could be the final season. I think it does have a moment which could wrap things up if it is potentially the final season. I don't know how well the show does for Amazon. Hopefully there will be another season. There are still big storyline threads that have yet to be answered. But if it ends here, I'm alright with that. This is also Ricky Jay's final performance. Ricky Jay, a actor and magician. He's in most of this season, but clearly when he sadly passed away, he wasn't able to wrap up his storyline. So in the final episode, it's very clear that he had died before doing the final episode, and they've clearly had to work around that. But as a send off for him, pretty good. But really good acting, really interesting, fascinating characters, a good overall storyline, a good mystery this season, which is all to do with three of the characters' mother potentially still being alive, despite the fact she's supposed to be dead for like 12 years. So, yeah, the whole premise of the show is just really interesting from the word go. And, yeah, lots of twists and turns, lots of surprises. I really recommend this. It's just a good, fun show. The Flash Season 5. So, The Flash, it's repeating itself now. The problem with The Flash and Supergirl and Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow, all shows which I'm about to talk about in a bit, is that they are really repetitive, they are really procedural in nature, in that every episode has a bit of a different story, a bit of a different adventure, while also having a longer ongoing storyline here. The problem is, these longer ongoing storylines really feel dragged out when there's 22 episodes. This season, the villain is a individual known as Cicada. Terrible villain, really bad villain, just boring and bland. It's also the fact that they've got a actor who, I don't know if they're using their real voice or not, but they've got a really gravelly, downbeat voice like this, where it's just a really stereotypical voice for a villain. It doesn't feel all that original, doesn't feel all that unique or interesting. There's also the problem that every character in this show now is a superhero of sorts. Why can't the show just be about the Flash? When I watch a show about the Flash, I want it to be about the Flash. Instead, you've got Vibe, you've got Killer Frost. There's all these other characters who all have superpowers, and that it's just not the show that it should be. Why does every single one of them have to be a superhero? It's annoying, because it makes the main character less interesting and less of the main attention and main attraction of the show than they should be. It's frustrating. And all these problems can be completely related to the other show I'm going to mention, which is Supergirl Season 4. Supergirl Season 4 has exactly the same problems as The Flash Season 5, but I think Supergirl Season 4 fares a little better. This season is very political. It dives right into real-world politics this season, perhaps too much so. Superhero shows, not all of them, but ones of this nature, I think should be a bit more light-hearted, a bit more escapism and a bit more enjoyable. This season of Supergirl really dark in times because it's delving into real world political issues, and of course it's doing it with aliens as opposed to like immigrants coming into various countries, and it's of course diving into elements like Brexit and the whole Trump political era and so on. And it's a little on the nose. It's a little frustrating because if you don't like politics, if you don't want this in your superhero shows, you're not going to like this season very much. It does pick up towards the end of the season, though, when they bring in Lex Luthor, played by John Cryer. A great depiction of Lex Luthor. But it feels a little too late at this point to have such a big main character introduced. It doesn't. Lex Luthor isn't enough to save this show, I don't think. And Flash and Supergirl, this is probably the final time I'm going to watch them because they are taking up a lot of my time. 22 episodes is a lot, and particularly when half the time I'm not enjoying it. So yeah, these shows are probably saying goodbye to. Dead to Me Season 1. This is a new Netflix comedy show starring Christina Applegate and Linda Cardellini. It's basically Christina Applegate's character has just lost her husband in a hit and run accident. They meet up at a grief counselling session, and I'm not going to spoil their whole relationship, why they're meeting up. I'm not going to say this, but it's about these two characters dealing with a big incident that they have in connection. There's twists and turns, there's surprises in there. It's really funny at times. Because of the nature of the show, it's not a full-on comedy. There are dramatic moments. There are dealing with big emotional elements in there. The two leads, Linda Cardellini and Christina Applegate, are brilliant. Hopefully they get some sort of attention when it comes to awards season. I'm looking forward to season 2. It does leave off on a good note. You've also got James Marsden in there. Lots of really good, fascinating, interesting characters, good character dynamics. It does a good job of delving into the deeper, darker themes while still being funny, because this is a half an hour comedy essentially. But yeah, I do recommend this show. Really good. Worth checking out. Legends of Tomorrow Season 4. So, unlike The Flash and Supergirl and Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow knows what type of show it is. It's a very different type of show. Now it's almost verging on to the point of just being a full-blown comedy. It's really funny at times. This season it doesn't introduce us, but it adds Constantine to the mix. A brilliant character. I love the character of Constantine as played by Matt Ryan. He fits in well here. The problem is that by adding Constantine in here, you've also got to add in all the supernatural elements. You've got to add in all these monsters and creatures and demons. So it's not going to be for everyone, especially if all you want is a bit more of a straightforward superhero team-up show. But I like Constantine. I think he mixes well with these characters. I think the overall story here is bonkers and ridiculous. But hey, that's kind of what the show is now. There are new characters introduced this season who aren't great. There's a new character introduced to the main cast, which I've got a feeling will end up being one of the main characters going forward. I just found this character to be a bit annoying. I don't think they're that good an actor. I'm not going to name them. I'm not going to say who they are because I don't want to criticize too much. But yeah, this one character becomes such a big focus this season, and I didn't like it. But the show starts off well, it ends well. Maybe this season was a little too long. I think it is the longest season so far. There is a bit more of a procedural element in there rather than a serialized ongoing story. But yeah, it delves into some big heavy themes of right and wrong, ethics and morals, and of course it's delving into real world events and politics by pretty overtly with less subtlety than it should, in that equality, treat everyone the same. It's all on the nose. But hey, this is a good, fun superhero show, and I do recommend it. It's the one CW superhero show that I'm going to keep watching because it is just so much fun. The final show I'm talking about today is The Good Fight Season 3. So, The Good Fight has always crossed the line between being a show about legal elements and being a show about politics. This season goes full-blown politics at times. Now that's fine if you like politics, but unlike shows like The Good Wife, the predecessor show of this, and shows like The West Wing, The Good Fight is delving into real-world politics and real-world individuals. It's about Donald Trump. It's about his administration. And because it's dealing with that in a fictionalized way, it feels just odd and bizarre. It feels forced. This whole season is essentially about attacking Donald Trump. There's a whole storyline where one of the characters is getting into a secret group where the whole aim is to take down the Trump administration and prevent Trump from getting the next election. Now, I'm not a fan of Trump by any means. I hate the guy, but it feels so overt. It feels so forced in. It feels so unnecessary. I'm not really a fan of this as the main focus of the show, especially when I got into The Good Wife and The Good Fight, purely because it was a courtroom legal drama. Now it's moving away from that, so much so that it's just a political show now. And it's still a really good political show, but the fact of the matter is, it's dealing in this in a fictionalized way, so it's like, what's the point in doing it in this fashion? One of the big things about this season is that it introduces a new character played by Michael Sheen, and yeah, he's an interesting character. Michael Sheen, a great actor, I'm not denying that, but this character is so over the top, so cartoonish when he's first introduced, to the point where it's borderline ruining the show when he's introduced. Clearly, as time's gone on, Michael Sheen has toned down the character a bit. He's gotten to grips of who this character is a bit more, so the performance does get better as the show goes on. But his initial introduction, like the first few episodes, really off-putting, really bizarre. It feels like he's from a completely different show. But I do like him by the end of the show, even if he is a horrible, horrible individual. But despite the fact that it delves into real world politics a bit too much, despite the fact that it's doing it in a fictionalized way, it's still a courtroom drama. It's still dealing with big legal issues and big issues. There are lots of story threads this season, particularly when it comes to office politics. There's a huge racial war almost brewing in the office, in that certain individuals are realizing they're not getting paid the same amount as other individuals, they're not getting treated the same amount as other individuals, simply because of their ethnic background and their skin color, potentially. And all of these threads merge together pretty nicely towards the end, and it sets things up for what will be season 4 in a pretty interesting way. So I do like this show, but I feel like this season it's the worst of the 3 seasons so far. But that's not to say it's bad by any means. It's a really good show. I just wish it didn't delve into the politics quite so much, because the politics at the end of the day feels like it's a side story that's being forced into the main headlines. And especially when the first season had nothing to do with any of this. The first season of The Good Fight, very much a courtroom drama about the characters and the individuals. It's only when Trump came into power that the show went full on, right, attack Donald Trump. But that's my thoughts on all these shows. Let me know what you think of these shows in the comments down below. Also, give me a thumbs up, why not? Subscribe to my channel as well. That's the big thing. Subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate that. You can also go to Twitter and Instagram and follow me at _Grant Burton. But until next time, that's all I got for now. Thanks for watching.